believe in life after death. I've been there.
This time on Unexplained Mysteries, Dead and Back Again.
13 million Americans have had some type of near-death experience.
A soldier is shot and believes he's dead.
I was in this dark corridor, and I suddenly came into a bright, white light.
Witnesses report that near-death experiences contain similar features.
There's a sense of being separated from the physical body.
I do remember being up in the corner suddenly of this room.
And many people are overwhelmed with a feeling of peace.
They seem to go through this tunnel into an incredibly brilliant and warm and loving and accepting light.
The light is all around you. It is you.
A light which some interpret as a higher power.
I was back with my Creator, with God.
A teenage boy is in a paralyzing accident. He believes he was saved by spiritual beings. A woman is trapped in her car with her children. Somehow, she finds the strength to survive.
I had this incredible feeling come through me. I call it liquefied love.
Survivors of near-death experiences report a greater understanding of their lives.
I had a panoramic review of my life, every experience I'd ever had.
I was told that I had not completed my time on Earth.
The incredible account of a Canadian man who believes his life is linked to a Holocaust victim.
I then realized that I died from suffocation because of the bodies on top of me.
World-famous psychic James Van Praagh helps a man plagued by the death of his mother.
The biggest thing I would hope for is just a chance to say goodbye. And that I loved her very much.
Van Praagh reveals unexpected details when he talks to her.
And she's telling me that she planned this whole thing. And she wants me to tell you that, okay? She planned this.
And he gives them what he believes to be an important message from beyond.
She loves you both, and she wants to thank you for helping her boy.
And we'll wrap up all these amazing stories with our Unex report. This is Unexplained Mysteries. Dead and Back Again. Is death the final step in your life? Some people say no. They have met angelic beings and reviewed their lives all after they were legally dead, but they seemingly came back to tell about it. A GI was seriously wounded in battle.
It happened when I was 19 years old, serving in Vietnam as a combat infantry soldier.
Vandenbush was hit in the right eye and vocal cords. He thought his life had come to an end.
And I laid down, and the next thing I know, the war was gone. There was no more shooting, no more noise. And I was in this dark corridor, and I suddenly came into a bright, white light.
But he believes he wasn't destined to remain in the light.
It was like, you have to go back because you have a higher purpose. So I turned, I was back in the dark corridor, and suddenly back, lying on the ground in the war zone. We're all going to die, it's inevitable. But that doesn't frighten me. I have no fear of death. I know that death is peaceful.
Experts note similar qualities in their near-death research.
A core near-death experience has several distinct features. There's a sense of being separated from the physical body, being able to look at it like a spectator would, from an elevated position above it.
A real estate broker went into shock and his heart stopped.
I do remember being up in the corner suddenly of this room where the doctors were. I've really worked at trying to describe it. And remember, it's not your body that's going, but it is you that's going.
They seem to go through this tunnel, and they come out on the other side into an incredibly brilliant and warm and loving and accepting light.
An artist was almost killed in a car accident. He too claims to have seen a light.
The light is all around you. It is you. It's like totally encompassing with your being. If I ever get fearful in this conscious life, I can think back to that time and think, well, it was a beautiful experience. So what's there to be afraid of?
Experts claim that one does not have to be near death to have this sensation.
You could be in a deep spiritual crisis. You could have a spontaneous out-of-body experience. You could have this kind of experience as a result of meditative practice. You don't necessarily have to be physically close to death.
But some experts counter that these experiences are difficult to categorize.
But one of the problems with some of the explanations is they always try to explain it in terms of their specialties.
Zaleski has studied concepts of death throughout the ages.
I think they do reflect cultural expectations, cultural aspirations that go very, very deep and go much deeper than some of the influences that we might be exposed to in a Sunday school classroom.
A high percentage of Americans believe they or someone they know have had a near-death experience.
13 million Americans have had some type of near-death experience. I'm just one of them.
I believe that it's important to get the message out about the near-death experience because there's just too many people afraid of death.
Near-death experiences share a similar sensation of being out of body.
You're helpless. You feel helpless. For the first time in your life, you're totally helpless.
Then I felt a tremendous sinking sensation, and then I came out of my chest and rose up to the ceiling, and I could look down and see my body lying there on the bed.
And rapidly, I'm pulled out of my body and right into a dark, totally dark tunnel with a sensation of speed, rapid speed.
I saw a pinpoint of light in this blackness, and I was attracted to it. So I turned and I began to travel very rapidly towards that bright light.
I was part of the light, and the light was part of me. It was not painful. It was absolutely wonderful.
Witnesses say it's a profound learning experience.
And I was able to ask thousands of questions, millions of questions, and have every one of my questions answered.
Then to my right came a being of light. And this being was there to witness or be with me. I had a panoramic review of my life. I felt every emotion, everything I'd ever done, every word I'd ever said, and every experience I'd ever had with anyone that I'd ever come in contact with.
When I re-entered my body, it was like I'd been in a car crash. I crashed back in. It was a jolt that I felt right down to the fiber of my spine.
There is absolutely no way to fully describe the beauty that is there. They said a good analogy would be that heaven is like the print and earth would be much like the negative.
Many doctors and scientists insist that near-death experiences are caused when the brain doesn't get oxygen.
There's nothing magical about a near-death experience. The basic themes of the near-death experience are remarkably similar across cultures, the reason being that the 5 billion brains that make up this planet are remarkably similar in their structure.
Dr. Persinger feels an NDE could be replicated artificially by subjecting the brain to low-level magnetic fields.
If you stimulate the brain with a different kind of pattern, you make the person feel pleasurable, leaving their body. In fact, the most common experiences in the chamber are feeling detached, feeling floating, feeling as if there's a sense of a presence.
For those who claim near-death experiences, scientific rationale comes up short.
The fact that we now understand the part of the brain that mediates the experience does not demean the experience and does not make it less useful or less important.
There are things that happen in a near-death experience that have yet to be explained by the brain.
Even though you might get a doctor to explain to me my body, they cannot explain to me my spirit.
Later, on Unexplained Mysteries, a paralyzed teen gives up hope, then has an enlightening experience.
It was very dark and lonely, and that was just replaced by a brilliant light.
A family car tumbles into an icy river. The father dies, but his wife is sure his spirit helped them survive.
He knew that the only way that his family was going to make it was if he could be there and help us.
A farmer is convinced that a Holocaust victim is reincarnated in his soul.
Without a doubt, it was not me. It was another man.
And some experts agree with him.
We have many stories of people reincarnating from disasters.
A well-known psychic helps a troubled young man by appearing to talk to his dead mother.
And your mom is here, and she's giving you both a kiss.
The emotional reunion brings up difficult memories.
And it's like she stands on that road and she looks around, and I don't know what it means.
Plus, we'll wrap it all up in the Unex Report, here on Unexplained Mysteries. Unexplained Mysteries, Dead and Back Again. A near-death experience often leads to a new appreciation of life. Tragedy strikes a tight-knit family when one of the boys has a terrible accident while searching for the perfect Christmas tree.
The hill was very, very steep. The tree was very, very tall. And it was starting to get dark. It was definitely like I was possessed to get the tree. I didn't see any danger.
Will climbed the tree to cut off the top, then his life changed forever.
I just was enjoying the beauty when I could feel my arms scrambling out, trying to find branches, but I didn't have any control. I remember hitting the ground, but it wasn't very intense, like you might think. It was just like jelly splatting on the floor, and I couldn't feel anything.
Will had fallen 50 feet. Doctors were extremely concerned about his condition.
When Will arrived in the emergency room, he was totally paralyzed, although he was breathing on his own. X-ray revealed a fracture, dislocation of the cervical vertebrae C4 on C5.
I remember the doctor examining me and saying he had a needle or he had something sharp. And he was saying, "Do you feel this? No. Do you feel this? No. Do you feel this? No."
Will was flown to a hospital in Montana, but his condition quickly got worse as he slipped in and out of consciousness.
When someone is totally out, the chances of recovering are as near zero as you can get.
He just laid there and kind of like he was in a trance, and I said, "What's happening, Will?" And he says, "I'm just practicing being a vegetable."
To me, it's the most single devastating injury that people get because they're locked inside a body. They can't do anything. It comes as a sudden thing in almost every instance.
If I could have, I would have taken my life. But I couldn't. I couldn't move. So I did the only thing I could do. I asked my mother.
He says, "If you really loved me, you'd get me out of my misery, and you would take this pillow and put over my face."
And she just looked back at me with loving eyes and couldn't respond.
Will gave up hope. He didn't want to do his physical therapy. Then another accident happened.
They got me on the tilt table and tilted me up way too fast. And I do remember I could see the floor for the first time in my new life. And I could feel the blood just running out of my head. And the room started to get a little bit dark and splotchy.
And he just passed out, and the nurse couldn't get a blood pressure, we couldn't get a heartbeat.
I want to die. And all those prayers that I'd said every night were answered. It was very dark and lonely. And that was just replaced by a brilliant light that just completely drowned the darkness, and my whole soul was just completely immersed in this light.
Will got the overwhelming feeling the light was giving him a choice.
To die and go where this light was taking me, or breathe and live.
He started to turn blue. By this time, the other nurse had gotten oxygen to him.
And as I laid there, consumed by this light, with the choice to make about quitting, I thought about meeting my God and looking at him and saying, "I quit." And I couldn't do that.
Then his diaphragm started taking over again, and he was breathing shallowly again.
I came back and I was a different man. I could just feel my face shining, and I just glowed.
Like many people with near-death experiences, Will's outlook on life completely changed.
I'm sure that there's something that occurs. I don't think we have any scientific explanation.
Before the accident, William was very shy. After his experience, it was like the dam broke and his whole being came out, and we got to know William at that point.
I was going to live my life the doctors kept saying, you'll never walk again, Will.
But amazingly, his condition improved, little by little.
It was almost like every week we'd get a new phone call saying, he sat up, he's, walking now, he's standing up.
What caused Will's unexpected recovery? According to his family, the answer is prayer. His doctors don't know what to make of it.
Conventional medical wisdom would have said that he would be totally paralyzed for life, and I certainly would call this a miracle.
Will is now walking on his own, and he's going to college.
He's had a chance to have his life, to lose his life as he knows it, and to have it back again. And that's something that very few people get the chance to do in this life.
Many people claim they've sensed the presence of a loved one, even after they've died. The mountains of eastern Washington state. A family is on its way back from a ski trip.
Within 5 minutes of leaving the ski area, we hit some black ice.
We hit one railing and then skidded out of control, then hit another, and then after a few times we went over the railing.
While we were airborne, it seemed like it took forever. I had enough time to be really, really afraid.
Their car flew over a guardrail and down 80 feet into the freezing waters of the Skykomish River.
I realized that the car was filling up with water very, very fast.
She was trapped, her legs and feet jammed into the engine compartment.
I finally was able to pull my feet out, and I laid down on the seat. And I put my feet up to the window and kicked. I kicked and kicked and kicked. I don't know how many times, but I know I had to kick a lot.
The window wouldn't break due to the immense pressure of the water against it. Patty knew she had one last kick left.
As I put my feet to the window, it seemed like I knew what to do. And I had this incredible feeling come through me that the best thing I can describe is I call it liquefied love.
Finally, she broke the window.
I swam out of the car and came up gasping for air, holding onto the ski racks. And my 6-year-old son came bobbing to the surface, and I saw him floating down the river. So I grabbed him and somehow got the two of us up onto the roof of the car.
Patty was certain that her husband John was by the river, safe but perhaps injured.
I had this strong sense of him sitting up there on the rocks, and I knew he was okay, and I knew he was sitting there, and I was mad, thinking, John, why aren't you helping me get your kids out of this car?
Patty and her son still needed help.
The lights from the car made an eerie glow in the water, and I could see Patty on top of the car.
A man appeared out of nowhere and jumped in the water and swam out to the car, and he said, is anybody left in the car? And I was screaming, yes, my baby, because I knew my husband was okay.
Johnson dove under and tried to rescue Patty's youngest son, Chris. At first, he couldn't find Chris in the icy blackness, but finally he emerged with the boy's lifeless body.
He rolled over his head out of the water, and water came out of his mouth. I knew he wasn't breathing at that point for sure.
I could see my little 4-year-old was dead.
Johnson performed CPR on Chris.
Dennis said, he's okay, he's breathing now.
He helped Patty and the boys climb up the steep slope. As the shock wore off, Patty started to sense severe pain. She had broken her back in 3 places and both ankles. Then, she became aware that John was not sitting by the river.
It turned out that my husband actually was still in the car. And I was so confused later on when I found that out, because I was so sure that he was up on those rocks watching the whole thing.
Paramedics got John out of the car and raced to the hospital, but there would be no reviving him. The medical examiner declared the cause of death drowning.
The state trooper that investigated this accident said, it is a miracle that the 3 of you are alive. You shouldn't be alive.
Months later, Patty saw photos of the crash site. She believes she now knows what happened during the accident.
I could see right above the steering wheel there was a round fracture in the windshield, and the insurance adjuster said somebody's head hit that windshield. And I said, oh my God, now I know exactly when he died. His spirit departed his body when I put my feet to the window to kick the window out.
Patty's back was broken, her ankles were shattered, yet she managed to kick out the car window, then climb up a steep ravine. Where did she get the strength?
Perhaps her husband died, and that some of the energy involved in his dying process aided Patty in kicking out the window.
Patty thinks her husband's spirit stayed with the family for a while longer. At John's funeral, her son made a surprising remark.
Chris pointed up to the flowers and he said, "Mom, look at those flowers. My daddy's in those flowers."
Children have extremely simple near-death experiences. They're usually fragments of a powerful experience that they're groping to understand.
Dr. Morse believes the images that came to Patty and Chris support his concept of a parting vision.
Chris is seeing his father's face in the flowers. It was clearly a spiritual event.
Patty continued to sense that John was nearby.
There were several occasions where I was very aware of my husband's presence after he died, and I was very upset by those.
Patty is convinced her husband helped save his family, even after he died.
He knew that the only way that his family was going to make it was if he could be there and help us. And I was badly injured. I couldn't have gotten those boys out of that car without the final gift.
Next on Unexplained Mysteries, a farmer has vivid nightmares about a past life in the Holocaust.
I couldn't connect who these people were. It was another man and his wife and 2 children.
He subjects himself to regression hypnosis.
I was nervous. What is this going to do if it reveals things to me?
Experts claim to find proof in the details he recalls on the way to heaven.
And then he says, "I'm not hungry anymore." And this, to me, again, is a very authentic detail.
A man and his wife are amazed after meeting a famous psychic.
He told us stuff that nobody else knew. I believe strongly that I just held a conversation with my mom.
And we'll sum it all up for you in the Unex Report. Stay tuned for more Unexplained Mysteries. Unexplained Mysteries, dead and back again. Many people believe their bodies are inhabited by reincarnated souls. A farmer in Nova Scotia is suddenly racked by nightmares of the Holocaust.
Without a doubt, it was not me. It was another man and his wife and 2 children, an older gentleman and a dog. I couldn't connect who these people were.
We have many stories of people reincarnating from disasters. Many people are not aware that Hasidic Jews do believe in reincarnation.
In his dreams, Whittier saw an old clock that would prove to be significant.
It was black, tall, very quiet. No one would find us because it was so quiet. At the last part of the dream, I was told that this clock was now in Canada, and it could be found at a new antique shop that had opened on our Route 1, which is our main road.
As he was on the phone telling me about this, I felt shivers go up my spine. And here was a man who had dreamed of a clock from Europe in another life and found that clock in an antique store by following directions in the dream.
To find out the identity of the people in his dreams, Whittier sought out a hypnotist who specialized in regression therapy.
I speak direct to your subconscious mind, and I'll say, I want you to move back to that event.
In an exclusive session taped by our cameras, McAdoo hypnotized Whittier.
Your mind is relaxed and you are beginning to feel at peace.
What is happening here today where you are?
Worried and scared.
In his past life, Whittier claims he was a Jewish telegraph operator named Stefan Horowitz. His family was hiding in a root cellar.
How long do you stay here?
For more than 2 weeks.
We went on to when he was captured by the Germans, and his family was taken by truck and then by train to the camps. Then we moved to the last day of his life.
What I remember is being taken to a place outside of the camp, and being taken and stood along a trench, and we had no idea what was in the trench until we actually were made to stand there. And when you looked down in the trench and saw the rest of the bodies, you knew what was going to happen. And then I remember being shot through the back and falling into the pit. It was an absolutely devastating feeling to know that you actually were being somebody else and you were being shot and you were actually dying.
During the regression, Whittier seemed to tense as if he had actually been shot.
I then realized that I actually didn't die from being shot, that I died from suffocation because of the bodies on top of me.
Move out of the body and tell me what it feels like as you lift out of the body. Oh, there's so many people that are going up. Did you see this light? It's so bright. There's rays of blue light that are coming.
And then he says, I'm not hungry anymore. And this, to me, again, is a very authentic detail, because the immediate realization as he enters the gates of heaven is that he's no longer hungry and he's no longer cold. And if he were making up the story, that would not likely be the first thing you would say upon being in the gates of heaven.
Whittier says he saw a blue light, and that surprised him.
In this life, he had read in books, etc., that it should be a white light, it should be a yellow light. Well, in Jewish mystical tradition, the light is a blue light. And considering that his own background is Christian, he didn't see angels with harps, he didn't see Jesus. He saw what I believe Stefan Horwitz would have expected to see, a very Jewish model of heaven.
Rabbi Gershom has a theory about Holocaust reincarnation.
What I believe happened in the Holocaust is that so many Jews were killed at once, and entire family lines were destroyed, that these people could not come back in their own village or their own family line. So they sought out the nearest body they could find.
Whittier was plagued with questions until he was hypnotized.
I now have a real sense of peace.
And what about the clock that Whittier had such strong images about in his dreams?
It's my belief that it was the will of God that he have this clock returned to him. Now, the clock itself was a very expensive antique that Bruce could not afford to buy. And as I began to tell the story in conferences around the country, people began to pass the hat and collect money to ransom the clock. And so the clock now sits in Bruce's home.
It certainly has increased my belief in the spirit world. And without their help and the guides and those that are dealing with us on the other side, that there was no way that clock would arrive.
Rabbi Gershom believes that there is a powerful reason why Bruce Whittier and people like him experience reincarnation visions.
Jewish culture has survived. The Nazis did not succeed in destroying that. And so those who still have pain from that other life can find much healing in finding out what it was that they gave their lives to preserve.
Some people believe that psychics can communicate with spirits of the dead. Kevin Boss was riding with his mother on a lonely highway. Suddenly, a plane came out of the sky attempting an emergency landing. His mother was decapitated by its wing.
If she wouldn't have pushed me down, the wing would have hit me first. She literally saved my life.
Since that time, his life has been in turmoil, full of drug and alcohol abuse.
I'm running from the pain.
Kevin believes that if he could talk to his mother one more time, everything would be all right. So his wife, Dina, contacted James Van Prague, a clairvoyant who's renowned for helping people contact loved ones who've died.
I think everybody is born with intuition. Everybody's psychic from one degree or another. Yeah, but there are those people that are born with maybe a little bit more sensitivity than most. And if that can be developed and harnessed, then you have results as far as what I'm able to do.
Kevin and Dina have high hopes for the session.
The biggest thing I would hope for is just a chance to say goodbye. And I loved her very much.
I want to be able to start from today on new and have Kevin be whole.
The session began. Van Prague believes he has sensed the presence of Kevin's dead mother.
Okay. First impression I get is a lady standing right next to you, and I do feel it's a mother figure. I do feel this energy. And your mom is here, and she's giving you both a kiss. And she's telling me that she planned this whole thing, and she wants me to tell you that, okay? She planned this. And she's giving love to the babies, and I don't know what she's talking about, but she's talking about the babies. You have babies, yes, right, you have babies. And she's telling me, now you might find this very funny, but she's telling me you're going to have another baby. Has there been talk about you having another child?
Yes.
And one of the baby's names, is it named after her?
Yes.
Her middle name, because she said the baby's name is some of the name there that she was mentioning, named after, and she wants to thank you for this, all right? And she protects the babies. She protects them. She does protect them. Okay. Yeah, go on.
Van Prague surprises the couple by telling them something very personal about their family.
Yes, and I'm also picking up, I'm being shown by your mom a necklace. And I don't know if it's a heart on the necklace, but there's something to do with a necklace. And who has a necklace, please?
His cousin does.
Your cousin.
And
The
Kevin
cousin.
was
Is it?
supposed to get.
And supposed to get the necklace of hers. Thank you. It's your mother's necklace, and she wants you to have it because she wants you to give it to her granddaughter. Granddaughter she's talking about, okay? And go on. She's showing me a field, and I don't know why she's showing me a field. I'm seeing a farm, or I'm seeing a country road, and I'm seeing this, and it's like she stands on that road and she looks around, and I don't know what it means. Do you know what she's talking about?
That's where the accident was.
That's where the accident was, okay. It looks like it's very rural. Is it rural area? Because it looks very rural to me. Okay? Yes, and it's hard for you to go down that road. You understand? So it's very hard to go down that road. Okay?
Then Van Prague gave Kevin the information he needed to hear.
And she wants me to tell you that don't you care what others think. Don't you care what the others think. They blame you, you know? They blamed him. They blamed him for her death. They blamed you. And it's not your fault. You understand that? It's not your fault. So please be aware of that. She said that. It's not your fault. I love you both. She loves you both. And she wants to thank you for helping her boy. You've helped him a great deal, Tina. You've helped him in his life. You understand? You've helped him in his life.
Van Prague relayed a message, supposedly from Kevin's mother, to help him move on.
It's almost as if she wants you to get yourself going, or, get yourself going. And she's loving. She loves you, and she said it in a very loving way. But she says it's time to grow up. You understand? It's time to grow up. And you had a hard life. You've had a hard life. But she says you can do it. You can do it. And you said you can do it. Yes, happy with you. She's proud of you, your mom. Your mom's very proud and happy with you, and she loves you very, very much. You make your mom proud. She says you make your mom proud. You make your mom proud. And she's so funny. She's toasting you. She's toasting you. And I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I see her toasting you. Does that make sense with her character? Because that's what I'm seeing.
Very much so.
Bit of a partier.
She is a very honorable person.
Oh, she is. Then she wants me to give this to you. Wants me to give you this, that she's around you, and she's trying to make up for not being there for you when she was alive. And she's with you, with the kids. Yes, very much. Any other question you'd like to ask?
I'd just like to tell her I love her, and I thank her. I really thank her.
Yes. Good, thank you very much. She wants to thank you. I love you. She loves you both. Okay, there you go. Okay?
Yeah, I'm great.
Okay. You're welcome. You're very welcome. I'm the radio, and one day the radio might be working really well, and other days it might be hard to hear. So I never take it for granted.
Kevin was profoundly affected by Van Prague's psychic abilities.
He told us stuff that nobody else knew, and there was no way he could have found out, so without a doubt, I believe strongly that I just held a conversation with my mom.
I felt this weight completely leave him. That happens when there's a little more self-confidence there, there's a little more love there. I think that he had closure, and I think it has changed his way of looking at life.
Coming up on Unexplained Mysteries, the Unex Report. What happens when the dead come back again? Is there life after death? Can a soul walk the earth after the body is gone? Do these spirits communicate with the living? We'll dig deeper for the answers next on the Unex Report. And now, the Unex Report. Millions of people claim they have had illuminating near-death experiences.
I was part of the light, and the light was part of me. It was absolutely wonderful.
I had a panoramic review of my life, everything I'd ever done.
And I was able to ask thousands of questions and have every one of my questions answered.
A wounded soldier was certain he was going to die on a battlefield in Vietnam.
And the next thing I know, the war was gone, and I suddenly came into a bright, white light.
An artist lived through a car crash but no longer fears death.
That was as close as I ever get to death. It was really, really pleasurable.
If we're not afraid to die, we're not afraid to live.
A paralyzed boy regains his will to live after he stops breathing.
I came back and I could just feel my face shining.
Did a dead man's spirit rescue his wife from a car trapped underwater?
I had this strong sense of him sitting up there on the rocks.
And her drowning son had a near-death vision of his own.
I started flying through this tunnel, and then I saw these flowers.
A man dreams that the reincarnated soul of a Nazi victim resides in his body.
What I remember is being taken to a place outside of the camp and stood along a trench.
To one scholar, this account confirms an important tenet of his religion.
Many people are not aware that Hasidic Jews do believe in reincarnation.
A famous psychic seemingly helps a young man get in touch with his dead mother.
First impression I get is a lady standing right next to you, and I do feel it's a mother figure.
He reveals possible events from the future.
And she's telling me, now you might find this very funny, but she's telling me you're going to have another baby.
And helps him to deal with his past.
They blamed him for death. They blamed you, and it's not your fault. Understand that? It's not your fault.
Many doctors and scientists agree that near-death experiences are profound.
I don't think we have any scientific explanation.
But are they spiritual events? Researchers disagree.
There's nothing magical about a near-death experience.
I think they do reflect cultural expectations, cultural aspirations.
The near-death experience, for many, it has changed their lives. Is it a glimpse into the beyond or a biochemical response? Whichever it is, there seems to be no doubt about its powerful effect. But the final answers to these questions must remain an unexplained mystery.
Death is the last great mystery.
It's not a free ride, but we're all going to take the trip.
Stay tuned, but don't turn out the light. Evil breeds in the dark. Well, not really. After the break, as if going to prison wasn't bad enough, they've had to make it haunted as well. Alcatraz opens its ghoulish heart to the public in Paranormal America in Unexplained Mysteries next.